It's Christmas Eve, 1987. My 6-year-old self is too excited to sleep. Yes, we're Muslims, but we do celebrate Christmas. Like many other Muslim Syrian families, it's more associated with the New Year. We like Santa, the tree, and of course, the gifts. It's Christmas morning, and I got a large Barbie doll house with pool and towels for Barbie and Ken, which was an expensive gift at the time, but my father was able to afford it. He owned a textile factory. Although I was born in Aleppo, I'm not Arab like most of the people in Syria. I am a Kurd, from my father's side and my mother's side too. The percentage of the Kurdish people is 10 to 12%. Due to my father's profitable business, we lived very well in Syria. We owned a large house in a rich neighborhood where Kurds couldn't afford to live. I went to a private school and learned English there. I have a Kurdish name, Rinaz, which means the one who knows the way. So because of my Kurdish name, people would ask me, Rinaz, are you a Kurd? When I say yes, they say, oh, you don't look like one. As a compliment, I guess. But what it really meant is, you don't look poor like the rest. To be a Kurd in Syria means you cannot speak your language. The government for a long time put a strategic plan to erase and destroy our Kurdish identity. We were not allowed to speak the language. They prohibited the use and publications of books and other materials in Kurdish. They also changed the name of the Kurdish towns into Arabic. While other minorities like Armenians were able to speak their language, have their own schools, and congregate in their own clubs. Growing up, I was taken by Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, to name but a few. So I studied English literature. One day, my father was driving me to college. I had an exam. It's called politics exam, where you go and talk about the government and its achievements. My father told me, if you get any question about the Kurds, just skip that question. Here I am in the exam room. I got my paper, and it was one essay question. What's your opinion about the latest protest conducted by the Kurds at the northern borders? I put the pen down and handed my exam paper empty, left college walking and talking to myself. If I could write anything, I would have said, we are 35 million Kurds scattered around the world with no home. We're Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Yazidi Kurds. It's not a religion, it's a nationality. But of course, if I put this down, I would have been imprisoned, tortured, and even killed, like many other Kurdish activists who dared to speak. The government did not bring us up in social studies, but they managed to say every bad thing about the Jews. I remember one time going back home from school telling my mom, these Jewish people are terrible. I never met anyone growing up anyway in Syria. So both my mom and dad corrected me and said, Jewish people lived in Aleppo for a long time. They were our neighbors and friends. They had to leave their businesses, their houses, and their memories behind. The war started. My father lost his factory. So the family wealth that used to bring us protection does not exist anymore. Eventually, I had to leave. It's Christmas Eve, 2013. My 32-year-old self is too excited to sleep. It's Christmas morning, and I am at JFK, too tired and exhausted. The officer at the airport said, ma'am, are these your kids? So when we get married in the Middle East, we don't change our last names. So my children have different last names. I told him, do you think I will fly for 14 hours with 2 children that aren't mine? He smiled, but he still required an answer. So I said yes. He stamped entry on my passport, and that was the best Christmas gift this Kurdish Muslim woman could ever get. But here I am again, as if the minority thing has to follow me like a curse. What a beautiful accent you have. Where are you from? Syria. Oh, you don't look like one. Well, I always wanted to say you don't look like Julia Roberts or Tom Cruise either. But I never said that, only once or twice. Aleppo was home. It was so beautiful with the ancient citadel, the old mosques, the cathedral. The walk in the old souk with the smell of the spices and the soap is like a cleansing ritual. But it was home because wherever you go, you meet people you know. So I wanted to create the same feeling in Connecticut. I joined the Moms Club, where I got tons of support from learning the difference between public and charter school, to know where to buy the best strawberries, to make the best jam. I also learned that mothers here talk about their mothers-in-law. The past 10 years have been wonderful in the US. I only met kind and nice people. Unfortunately, my children had different experience. They faced terrible insults in schools, like, do you belong to ISIS? Or Allahu Akbar as an insult, or how was life in a refugee camp, a life they never experienced. Growing up, my mother always used to tell me that wear your insecurities as a crown. So can you see my crown? It says Muslim Kurdish single mom from Syria. I hope one day my children will grow up to be able to wear their own too. I keep reminding them that being called a refugee is not an insult. It's a badge of courage, honor, and victory.